something about Judaism and happiness, because many authors of happiness, of humor, and things are Jewish.
There's a lot of wisdom in Jewish thought. I was raised Orthodox, and over the years, wherever I've looked in psychology, the latest research in neuroscience, the latest research in the social sciences in general, almost always I've been able to find roots in what I learned as a child, whether it's from the Torah or from Pirkei Avot or from the Rashar, from the 19th century. There's a great deal of wisdom in Judaism, and I urge my children, and I urge the Jewish community to study more Torah, to study more Talmud, Orthodox or not. That's not the point. It's the Torah that has held us together for thousands of years, and there is a lot of wisdom. It's relevant to the 21st century, just as it was 2,000 years ago.
Because the positive thinking and the positive psychology, from the beginning, when it says, I put in front of you the good and the bad and choose the good, this is, I think, the basis, of...
Yes. The Torah is full of stories. And what are these stories about? They're not about people who are perfect. Far from it. They're about people who struggle with the day-to-day of life. There are people who make mistakes, and there are people who do great things. And it's a mirror for us to learn from, to understand that life is complex, providing us a roadmap, providing us a way of thinking about the kind of life that we want to live. And again, whether that life was 2,000 years ago or today.
And because your thinking is very Jewish. I mean, you use Jewish words and you use a lot of Jewish ideas. So how do science now, how was the Bible like visionary in your studies?
Yeah, it depends. Some people say the Bible was written by God, and God is omniscient and omnipotent. Other people say that it was written by very smart people. Again, whether you're the first school or the second school, it doesn't matter. There is so much wisdom there, and studying it can inform research in psychology. It can inform relationships today, and it can inform the future of the world with technology and robots. There are many lessons there that we can learn. I draw on the Torah not just because I'm Jewish. I draw on the Torah because there are many important lessons there for Jews and non-Jews alike.
And now, how do you explain that Israel, that is under so much persecution and has to face wars, the people of Israel are one of the happiest people in the world? How do you explain this?
Yeah, you look at the happiest countries in the world, and they're not the countries you would expect. They're not the US, somewhere in the middle. It's not the UK or Germany, even lower. It's not even the Asian miracles, Singapore and Korea, who are way down on happiness. It's countries like Denmark and Colombia and Israel. And the question is why? And the answer is one answer: relationships. There is a real emphasis in the happiest countries in the world on relationships. So in Israel, it would be obviously on mishpacha, on family, on chevre, on friends. And it's still a priority in Israel, as it is in Mexico, as it is in much of Latin America. And I hope this remains a priority, that the virtual world doesn't take over the real world.
And with the story of persecution that we Jews carry in our genes, how can we be happy?
When you ask how can one be happy, you can't be happy all the time. But my role model is, or was, still is, my grandmother. My grandmother lived in Siget. She was the next door neighbor of Elie Wiesel. They bought in his father's makolet, in his little store. And their town was was decimated by the Nazis, who came in, and my grandmother's entire family, except for her sister, was murdered. She was in Auschwitz. She barely survived. She had one child, but she gave birth to 4, and 3 of them died in childbirth because her body was destroyed by Auschwitz. And yet she was optimistic, and yet she laughed a lot, and she was always telling stories and always telling jokes, and she was an optimist. Now, if she was able to live a full and fulfilling life after what she experienced, and be optimistic when she raised us, and give love and generosity and kindness, then I think we all can.
Are you happy, Tal?
It's a difficult question to answer because I don't think there is a point before which one is unhappy, after which one is happy. So today I'm a lot happier than I was 25 years ago when I started, and I hope that 5 years from now I'll be happier than I am today. In other words, happiness is a continuum, and it's a journey. It's a journey that ends when life ends.
Because one of the goals of mankind is the pursuit of happiness.
Yes, we all want to become happy, or as I would say, we all want to become happier. And the nice thing is that today we have a science of happiness. We can actually teach people how to become happier. And it's a worthy pursuit. It's a worthy pursuit because it's nice to be happy. It's also a worthy pursuit because when we increase our own levels of happiness, we indirectly increase other people's levels of happiness through generosity, through kindness, through happiness being contagious. The biggest challenge that we face today is how do you bring about lasting change? How do you bring about lasting change? Because I can give a lecture and people can become very excited and say, yes, I want to give myself the permission to be human. Yes, I want to express gratitude. Yes, I'll exercise. However, yes, I'll spend more time with my loved ones. If they don't take action, nothing happens. Now, what do they tell us in Pirkei Avot? They say, those whose wisdom exceeds their deeds, their wisdom will not endure. Those whose deeds exceed their wisdom shall endure. In other words, focus on action, on deeds, and that's how you can maintain wisdom. And this is a very important lesson that today we have researched through neuroscience to show how are rituals created in our brains by repetitive action, by repetitive deeds. Well, all in Pirkei Avot. So, I'm a direct descendant of the Baal Shem Tov. So I obviously read about him. He didn't, and think about how wonderful it would be to meet him, and to learn from him, about his sense of life and his joy, and his philosophy, of course. So I teach, but more than anything, I learn. I learn from our sources. I learn from very smart people who are doing work, whether it's in universities or in yeshivas. I feel very grateful and fortunate. I have here, and it says kindness, a reminder. And I have another one that says Natan on it that I also wear. You read what does our tradition say? Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed. 3 things the world's the Torah, al avodah, gumilut chasadim. On Torah, on learning, on work, on deeds, and gumilut chasadim, on kindness. So this is another great wisdom that we need to carry to the modern age. And it has nothing to do with whether we're Orthodox or not.